Kumusta mga Exile? Game Ross here. In today's video, I'm gonna talk about 5 starter league builds from my own build guides. And first of all, for some of you might all know, my build guides are budget build guides, which you can consider them all as starter league builds. And so in this video, I will recommend 5 of my builds as starter league builds, simply because these builds are very easy to make. The required items are very easy to gather, and of course, very cheap. First build in this list is Caustic Arrow Trickster. Like I said in my build guide, this is my new favorite build, simply because its damage is really good and the gameplay is very simple, which gives the build high survivability. With Caustic Arrow, all you need to do is shoot an arrow to the enemies and then move around to dodge enemy attacks. On top of that, with the help of the key nodes Acrobatics and Face Acrobatics, plus the Ascendancy nodes Ghost Dance and Escape Artist, these nodes alone will give you a really good amount of dodge and evasion. And also with this build, you can even use all rare items. But I did use, and I highly recommend using this at series step, because it has a very high evasion rating and spell dodge. Also, I use this 4-link Carcass Jack simply because I want the Caustic Arrow to have a bigger AoE. And so if you are starting in this new league, or even yet if you are a totally brand new Path of Exile player, this is the build to start with. Second build in this list is Stormwall Cyclone Berserker. Now, I know what you're thinking, not another Cyclone build. And I hear you, but it's just hard for me not to include this build because this is the highest DPS that I have ever built. This build can go up to 7 million Shaper DPS. Again, that's 7 million Shaper DPS. I want to point that out because with that high of a damage, you can be flexible. And by that I mean you can use different ascendancy for better defense and survivability. For example, you can use Juggernaut for this build, which we all know it has a very high defense. And for those of you who are just sick of using Cyclone, it doesn't have to be Cyclone. With this build, you can use Tectonic Slam, Sunder, Consecrated Path, Smite, Ground Slam, or even Ancestral Warchief Totem build. It's this Stormwall Royal Staff that makes this build really good for starter league. Once you acquired this weapon, what you can do for all the rest is to improve your defense, because with this Stormwall Staff, your DPS is secured. Third build in this list is Herald of Agony Necromancer. I really like to include this as a starter league build because with this build, you don't even need a 6-link. All you need is a helmet with +3 to minion gems and a couple of cold iron point dagger. And with all that, plus the Necromancer node Unnatural Strength, which will give you +2 to level of all minion skill gems, you can have up to level 31 Herald of Agony gem. With that gem alone, without any support gems, will deal a really good amount of damage. And if you include this grip of the Council gloves, will greatly improve the minion damage. And for the rest of your items like flask and equipments, you can just use them to improve your defense. For the fourth build in this list is this Lightning Wild Strike Raider. I really like this build because it has a very fast clear speed thanks to its ridiculous lightning chains and very high damage. Also, it has a good amount of defense thanks to the key nodes Acrobatics and Face Acrobatics, plus the Raider node Avatar of the Chase, which will give you a good amount of dodge and evasion. And for the weapons, it's very easy to acquire. All you need to look for is a couple of rare one-handed thrusting swords. You know, those swords with global critical multiplier implicits. And they need to have a good amount of lightning damage. And then you can just craft the increased lightning damage to even improve your DPS. And because it has a good amount of DPS, you can even use a shield to further improve your defense. And lastly, for the 5th build in this list is Iciclemancer Saboteur. This is actually the very first character that I made in Blight League, and just like my Herald of Agony Necromancer build, you don't even need a 6 link in this build. All you need is a pair of gloves with socketed gems are supported by slower projectiles and trap and mine damage. Now I just wanna mention that this is not the gloves that I used in my build guide, but I already updated my PoE paste bin. And for the weapons, it's very easy to acquire as well. All you need to look for is a couple of wands or scepters with good amount of spell or elemental damage, and then just craft the added cold damage to spell. And lastly, I just wanna mention that this build has good clear speed because those projectiles from the Icicle mine can pretty much reach every enemies in your screen. And those are my 5 starter league build from my own builds that I recommend for this coming new Metamorph League, and I'm going to put a link into the description down below for the build guides. And like I said in the beginning, pretty much all of my build guide can be considered as starter league build, so I would highly recommend checking out my other build guides because you might find a different build that is not in this list that you might prefer as a starter league build. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please give a like if you like my build guides and subscribe to my channel so you will be the first one to know whenever I upload a video, and I really appreciate this because subscribing will help my channel grow. And with all that said, magkita na lang tayo sa Metamorph League mga Exile. Paalam!